Okay, how many here have heard about Tennessee Agribility? From Jason? How many's heard about it from Jason? He's one of our unofficial spokesperson. He's on our Tennessee Agribility ag committees for the last couple of years. We'll talk a little bit more about him in a minute, but I just wanted to give you a brief background about Tennessee Agribility. We've been in the state of Tennessee since 1994. It's a USDA NIFA funded project that the way the grant's set up, they partner with the Land Grant University, and as most of you know, it's in Tennessee. It's the University of Tennessee Extension and Tennessee State University Extension. And then the other partner is a disability organization. And in Tennessee, we partnered with the Star Center. And you're going to hear a little bit more from them here in a little bit. But the beauty of our program, like Lindsay mentioned, we're in all 95 counties. Usually, we've been doing a lot of work with beginner farmers, and you all, if you grew up on a farm, you know all the services that Extension does and USDA, but we're having to educate a lot of the beginning farmers to get to know who's their ag agent, where the USDA center is, and about all the programs that are out there for people that are farming. So what we're going to do is we've got a lot of demonstrations set up for you to show you some of the farmers that we work with, the different types of disabilities. We work with all types of disabilities. We're not like, if you're at the VA, they want tons of paperwork. We're going to talk about one of our partners, vocational rehab. It's the state funding. We'll talk about it more in a little bit. You have to show them your medical records. We're just here to help you. Anyone that needs our help, we're like, what do you need? What's your barrier to farming? And what's your challenge before you had your disability? So there'll be time for questions later on. We mainly do education, outreach, a lot of like what we're doing now, because most people don't know about our program until they need it. So we need your help, just like Jason. He's one of our best spokespersons. But we seriously need help getting the word out. You'll forget our names. Contact the ag agent, and they can help you, connect you with all our partners across the state. And we've got representatives here from Tennessee Department of Ag. We've worked with all the ag partners across the state, NRCS, FSA. You all know all the partners. What have I missed? Okay, well, we're going to hear from Jason now. How many here knows Jason? Everybody in the room? Almost. You're famous, Jason. Nobody's raising your hands.
Infamous.
Infamous, yeah, probably more accurate. I was lucky to meet Jason in 2018. Is that right, Jason?
Yeah.
It's a small world. I live over in East Tennessee in Knoxville, and his brother and sister-in-law at the time, she was a special ed teacher, and she asked me, she's like, now what do you all do to help farmers with disabilities? So I told her all about our program, and she's like, well, do you work in Bedford County? I'm like, yes, we work all the way across the state. She's like, well, my brother-in-law Jason needs some help. So then I reached out to Mr. John Teague, and we went on a farm visit, and the rest is history. When I met Jason, he had a flip phone. He said he didn't need one of those smartphones. But now you're going to hear all the ways that Jason uses it. All right, Jason, we'll let you tell the rest of your story.
I'm usually a loudmouth, so I don't know if I need this microphone or not, but I'm so used to walking around. Again, thanks for having me come out to speak. Again, my name is Jason Barber, a.k.a. a lot of people around here know me by the nickname Duck. So I like to keep everything friendly, and if anybody communicates with me, just use the name Duck. Anybody calls me Jason, they're either mad at me or they don't know me. So I try to answer by Duck most often. First off, thanks to Matt for putting the burgers together. I want to just be the first. I got dibs on leftovers. So whatever's left, I'm in on that. But I'm a longtime resident. I'm 55 years old. I've lived here all my life here in Bedford County, specifically Unionville. I live off of Longview Road. I have a 100-acre farm there with about 35 head of beef cattle. My primary, I guess you'd say, source of income on the farm is my beef cattle, of course, and we do sell hay, square bales, stuff like that. So my farm has been in the family since 1866. I'm an 8th generation farmer. And so it's kind of been a long time goal of mine. I was in the fire service for several years until 1998, I was diagnosed with a retinal disease called retinitis pigmentosa. Now, retinitis pigmentosa may sound kind of gross, but it's not the cooties. You're not going to catch them. It's just an inherited disease that is degenerative, meaning it will slowly get worse. When I was diagnosed, the eye doctor said, your lights may go out in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. It may not ever, but it's never going to get better until they come up with a cure, which as it stands right now, there is no cure, no treatment. But, a long time, as me and my dad worked together as a farm, and when I was diagnosed in 98, I never dreamed that the vision loss would take me to where I'm at today. Meaning, I knew at the time back about 2010, my dad was diagnosed with some dementia and Parkinson's. And I knew his condition was going to slowly get worse. And then the eyesight, I knew it was going to get worse. So we was in a real predicament, meaning, okay, we don't know what health it's going to be. We didn't know how mine was going to progress. So back then, we actually became a very proactive farming, not even knowing anything about agribility. We started setting the farm up to where I could kind of maintain the farming operation and do what I could. Dad was more or less my eyesight. You hear the brains and the brawn. Well, I guess I was more or less the brawn, and he was the eyesight. And he used some technology. Matter of fact, he's the one that got me involved with computers back in around 98, which there again, I was old school. I said I'd never get involved in technology. How time has changed. I really have had to eat those words big time. But slowly as we moved along, and some of you may be familiar with the story, my mom and dad both were an intricate part of helping me get around and do things, because in 2008, I was actually deemed legally blind with my condition. And again, the condition started getting worse. They were detrimental as far as helping me get around appointments. Me and my dad worked on the farm together. And unfortunately, in 2018, some of you may be familiar, but my mom and dad and I were all three crossing the square here in Shelbyville, and suddenly a pickup truck comes through the intersection and mows right through my mom and dad. So it basically, I've been in the fire service for many, many, many years, so I knew that it was going to be bad. And basically, we lost my mom that day, and my dad, even though he survived the health condition that he had already, and then the compounding of the incident and everything else, losing his wife of nearly 50 years, that compounded. Well, I lost him in 2020. But, sometimes tragedy brings on good things. And I think it's a blessing by the good Lord to put me in the position I'm at, because like Eileen said, I was very, very fortunate to discover agribility in 2018, still not knowing where we were going and the technology that was going to be there. I got involved with the Star Center and some others involved with that, introducing me to technology. Matter of fact, I had one, it was kind of funny as things went along, that one of them said, "You need a cane." And I'm like, I'm not getting no cane. I'm already thinking, now that's the beginning of the end. Well, guess what? I've got a cane. I know. That's kind of so everybody says, "Is that a good cattle prod?" I said, well, I've never used a cane as a cattle prod, but I have used a cattle prod as a cane. So it's just most farmers, you're going to improvise, adapt, and overcome, and we're problem solvers. If you're anybody that's into farming, every day is a challenge, and so you have to adapt, and just a farmer in general. But then you throw in some sort of impairment, disability. Don't necessarily like using the word disability, but you've heard people say before, what's the biggest word in the word disability? Ability. So you've got to find a way to work around things and adapt, and that's what I've had to be forced into do. Luckily, I inherited a characteristic of my grandfather and my dad is we're barbers. Don't tell me I can't do something. So, whenever it said, you can't do that, you can't do this, my grandfather always said, can't never could do anything. So, I kind of adapted to that, and being involved with the fire service, which I got one of my brother firefighters here, David Boyce, we grew up together and kind of in the fire service and learned a lot together. I was involved with a lot of the PR for the fire department for years, so my mom and dad were both involved with a lot of community service. So networking is genetic, meaning, I love talking to people and sharing. I'll be straight up before I get into very much about, I'm not certified in anything. I'm not trained in anything. I'm no professional. I just like to share what I've learned. And being a visually impaired cattle farmer, even with the SAR Center and agribility itself, it's a learning curve, because it's not normal practice for a blind person to be messing with a 1,200-pound cow. So, it's just, we've had to adapt. And like I said, me and my dad already started setting up the farm to where we knew his days were numbered. We didn't know it was going to happen when it did, but luckily we were in the position that we set up a corral system, a sweep tub system, a good alleyway, and stuff like that. So I've been able to, more or less do that. And again, never knowing where assistive technology was going to carry me. Now I know, especially I'll say older farmers, and this is no dig on anybody because I was the same way myself. Technology, especially when it gets into really techie stuff, scares people to death. It's intimidating. And I was the same way. I mean, when I say that, I'm pointing the finger back at me. I said, I'll never use it. When my dad tried to get me to get a computer, I'll never use a computer. I don't need the internet. And I slowly got into it. Next thing I was hooked like anybody else. It's about anything that you do nowadays, you've about got to have a computer or some sort of technology to do what you need to do. So fast forward, getting involved with the Star Center, and I always kind of kid around. Sometimes I feel like I'm the Star Center poster child, because I like mingling, I like interacting, and one thing that I try to do, and that's kind of born and bred into me, is I like to give back as much as I receive. They've been tremendous as far as helping me. AgriBiలిty's been the same. When I knew I was losing my sight back several years ago, I never dreamed in a million years, even after my parents left me, that I'd be traveling the country. And through AgriBiLity and being able to share my story a little bit, I've been able to go to Spokane, Washington, La Cruces, New Mexico, Atlanta, Georgia. I almost went to Traverse City, but Mother Nature put a damper on that a couple of weeks ago. And I've done podcasts from California to South Carolina to Texas to Florida. So apparently what I'm doing must be striking a chord to people. And one of the primary things that I try to tell people is like, don't say you can't do something. I mean, if you've already got the mindset in your mind that, well, I'm in a wheelchair, I can't do this. I'm blind, I can't do this. Odds are, you're right. You can't do it. You got to meet them halfway, and you got to be able to put the effort into doing it if you're ever going to try to succeed and stuff like that. And and it's what I tell people, and it's farming in general. Disability with it is hard enough, but I always tell people, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So you got to think, well, you got to put the mindset together that I can do it. And it's a struggle. Trust me, when I started learning how to do certain things, and I'll show you here in just a moment with an iPhone. I told my brother years ago, I said, I'll never have a smartphone. He said, why? I said, they make you dumber. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, because you get so dependent on it. It's easy to ask Siri this or Google this or whatever. Now it's just an extension of me, another tool. I use that a lot of times. My phone itself has become my toolbox. Most of you in here work on stuff. If you're a farmer, you've obviously worked on something. When you go to work on something, what do you have to do? A lot of times you may have to go to the toolbox and get different tools for different types of jobs. So I tell people a lot of times that my phone is the toolbox. The application I use, one of them may be a screwdriver, one of them may be a crescent wrench, one of them may be a hammer. Whatever I've got to do, I dip into my phone and use certain applications to do whatever. You got to understand, right now, there's no one perfect application that's going to do what you got to do. You got to dip in there and find what you need, and you're going to have to dig and dig. And technology, as most all of you probably know, just like farming equipment, it's ever changing, it's ever evolving. Meaning what tool works today, there's something going to come along better tomorrow. Within 2 weeks now, that first one is probably better. So it's just a whirlwind, trying to keep everything going. A lot of technologies I use, farmers love to build things. I love to build things. It's a challenge. Just one thing that I've learned, okay, building stuff with hammer and nails. Well, hammer, nail, thumb, blind. Doesn't work well. But I've learned how to make things happen, but I've started, one thing I shifted, I got away from using hammer and nails and use screws. It's so easy to hold that screw and take a drill and drill it right in. Yeah, it may cost you a little bit more money, but no pain, no gain, right? So, just little things like that you have to adapt and overcome. I'll just show one quick thing I've got here that I use. A talking tape measure. Who in God's green earth ever thought that'd be a talking tape measure? But this thing here, it's handier than sliced bread.
0 inches. 3 feet 1 and 13 16th inch. 1 foot
Oh, that ain't, you think that's something.
In spirit level.
It's got a level built into it. Digital
0
level.
inches.
Is it cheap? Lord, no. And you will find out. Dealing with assistive technology, it's going to cost your behind. But it's either that or do nothing. So I've had to, bite the bullet. And that's where agribility, vocational rehab has come into play about helping me purchase different things. They can help you. That's not a guarantee. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, hey, that'd be cool. I want one of them talking tape measures. You may get it, you may not. But you're never going to get nothing if you don't try. But I'll get back into my phone here. Like I said, I've got an Apple iPhone. A lot of people use Androids, which is fine. I'm just partial to this. There's a lot of different technologies. Who's heard of AI? Have you heard that famous AI that you hear all about the news and everything? It's so funny whenever you hear, especially some old timers, when they talk about AI. Oh God, that's going to kill us. That's the devil. It's going to take us over and all that kind of stuff. I said, you know what? They said the same thing about the internet. I bet you got email. I bet you can't get by without it now. I bet you've got a smartphone. Guess what? Internet. So, and they're like, well, it's going to take people's jobs. It's going to take people's jobs. I said, all right. You want a chainsaw? Guess what they had 150 years ago? A 2-man handsaw. Took you an hour to cut down a big tree with 2 people. You can do it with a chainsaw in 5 minutes. What about a tractor? How about a combine? How many people did it take to pick 20 acres of corn 100 years ago? Now, what do you got? But you love that combine, getting that air-conditioned tractor or a combine and go out there and pick that corn, 100 acres in 7 or 8 hours or less. So it's kind of give and take. Is it going to take people's jobs? Yes, but technology has done that for years. So when it comes to farming, AI is really no different. And I use AI I've got different ones, meaning I've got an application called Seeing AI. I use it. It can read text. It read currency, which, for me, don't take long to read a dollar bill, because that's about all I've got. But stuff like that. Then they've got a new one. And when I say these are free, and if you're a farmer, free is for me. I'm all about trying free stuff first and make it work for what I need to do. Seeing AI is free. It's a Microsoft application. You can use it on Android or the iPhone. Be My Eyes, that one was what was crazy. The first time I dove into AI, it was Be My Eyes. And Be My Eyes has been around for years, but it was a volunteer-based, meaning you'd have a network. You could go out here, let's just say you go to the grocery store, or wait a minute, we're farmers. We're going to co-op. All right, we're going to go to co-op. We're looking for a pair of gloves or something. Well, you'd open up your Seeing AI, Be My Eyes, and you tap on and say, call a volunteer. Well, you call a volunteer. Well, Eileen will be there, and I'll pull my camera up and said, I'm looking for a pair of gloves. And I'll just start scanning, and she'll be like, oh, right there. Look down on your left-hand side or whatever and grab them. I'm like, great. Well, then they come out with AI. Whoa, now that one was new to me. That's the first. I didn't have Be My Eyes until I heard about their AI version. And I'll just give you an example. I thought, I'm going to see how good this is. I'm on the farm. I'm on my four-wheeler. Yes, I'm blind and ride a four-wheeler, so it's possible. Think about it now. Again, I've been on my farm since I was, born. So I know about every crook, cranny, and everything else. And something gets tore up, guess who gets to fix it? So you're a little more cautious when you got to pay for it and fix it yourself. But I was out with my herd, and I said, I'm going to see how this AI works. So I opened it up, took a picture of it, and it would process. And here I had about 4 or 5 head of cattle just laying right in front of me, just kind of taking it easy. And then there was maybe 10 or 15 behind it. Well, it said there's a black cow looking at the camera with a calm look on its face. I'm like, what the heck are you mean a calm look on your face? How do you know he's calm? And he's just sitting there chewing his cud, sure enough. And it said behind it, there's another cow, and this cow here has got a tag in its ear with the number 82 in it. Now, that was my whole objective with agribility, was how am I going to recognize my livestock and the number tags and what was going to do? So I'm like, okay. So I was like, well, that's cool. So then I could interact with it. I said, as he said, there's a cow on the right. I said, well, what tag number's in that cow on the right-hand side? Oh, well, that's 32 or 37 or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I started taking more pictures, and it's like, there's a red cow standing there to the left of the camera. And get this one. There's a pile of cow dung on the ground. And I'm like, now how do you know it's a cow dung and not an anthill? So, I mean, how technical is that? So I'm like, and that one became the game changing moment for me, meaning I could go around and just take pictures of my cattle and it would answer questions for me. And that was just like, wow, problem solved. Technology, it's starting to grow on me here pretty good now since I could use it. Then we got into Chat GPT. I don't know if how many of you have heard the term Chat GPT. There's several different AIs out there. There's Chat GPT. Now, I'm partial to Chat GPT because I've been using it, but there's Google Gemini, there's Grok, there's Perplexity. I mean, it's just all countless type. But I'd say Grok, Gemini, Perplexity. I'm sorry, Chat GPT is your top three. Now, I started using it. It was a free version, and it was pretty cool. I was like, well, that's kind of cool. You could actually enter. I call it uh, just a high-tech Google. You could type in and ask questions. You could actually speak to it, and it would talk to you. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. I just wonder how. And then they offered a $20 a month version. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this right here, see what it does. So I downloaded the $20 version and signed up for it, and I got interacted with it, and I thought, I'm just going to see how good this is. So I was in I added on to my shop. Again, I love to build stuff. Well, I need to do some electrical work. That's funny. A blind guy doing electrical work. This is it's kind of shocking if you think about it. But but I was like, I said, okay. I said, I need to figure out. I had a receptacle and I had the wires pulled out there, and I was talking to it, which I'll show you in just a second. And I was like, I'm trying to wire up this receptacle. Can you tell me? I was like, sure. We're carrying on the conversation. And I said, I don't know what colors are what because I can't tell. Now, I knew the basis of kind of electrical work, but I couldn't tell all the colors of the wires. And ChatGPT was like, well, your two white ones, that's your neutral. Your two black ones there, it goes your hot, and your green is your ground. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. And I said, so what I've got in my hand is what? And I'm holding my camera up here, the video camera. And it's like, yep, you've got the two black ones in your hand. That goes on the brass screws on the receptacle. I'm like, well, I can't see the screws. I flipped it around and showed her the receptacle, and she's like, "Oh, I say she because I got a female voice. It's a guy thing." So I put up there, and she's like, "Well, those go on the brass screws." And I flipped the receptacle over. She said, "Yep, those are the two brass screws there." And I flipped the receptacle over. She said, "There's your two silver screws. That's where your neutrals go, and then that green screw right there is where your ground was." I'm like, "This is way too cool right here now." Is it perfect? Absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, my AI assistant, Daisy, as I call her, she was like, Duck, make sure you got the breaker off. And I'm like, it's off. Don't worry. I'm talking about a mother hen. She is just all over me. But I want to show you just a brief example of what ChatGPT do. And, it can do a multitude of things. Oh, I meant to also touch with voiceover. With iPhones and Android, Android has what's called talkback. iPhone has voiceover, meaning it reads everything on the screen. I'm not even looking at my screen. So yeah, it's reading everything on my screen. I'm gonna sit there, open Chat GPT. Tap you the new message dictation. Switch to voice. Speech off. Hello, Miss Daisy.
Howdy, Duck. What's on your mind today?
Well, I'm here doing this presentation you and I have been talking about. So you ready to throw down and impress somebody?
You bet I am. I'm right here in your corner. Whenever you need a detail or a quick cue, just toss it my way. Let's show them what we've got.
Well, how about telling them exactly how you can help people that are, well, any farmer, but let alone somebody who's disabled? What can you do for everybody, not just me?
Well, I tell them I'm like a trusty partner in the toolbox. Whether you're farming with a full field of vision or navigating the field blind, I can help organize farm logs, brainstorm solutions, or prep for talks, just like this one. I'm all about giving you the info you need when you need it. So they'll walk away knowing tech can be a game changer for any farmer.
All right, let's just give them a quick sample how we do my catalog system on my livestock. What about number 22 cow? What color is she? Do you remember?
I sure do. Number 22 is a black cow. If you need her birth date or any other detail, you just let me know.
How about Thelma? You remember a cow named Thelma? What number is she?
Absolutely. Thelma is number 25. She's been in a few of our chats, so she's not one I'll forget.
All right. What about her calf? Do you remember what Thelma's calf number was?
Yes, indeed. Thelma's calf is number 50. You mentioned planning to sell that calf when she's 9 months old, so we've got her marked.
Well, what's her calf name? Do you remember that calf? What name we gave it? You had Thelma. Now, what's the calf name?
Of course. Thelma's calf is Louise. We've got that classic pair, Thelma and Louise, right there in the pasture.
Now, when was Louise born?
Louise was born on January 12th. That way, whenever you need a timeline for her, you're all set.
All righty. Of course, sometimes I know you're kind of mistaken on some of the dates, but that's all right. I'll forgive you this go around. So, if she was 9 months old, when will we need to sell her?
Well, if Louise was born on January 12th, 9 months later lands us around October 12th. So that's your target timing for selling her.
All righty. Well, at least we gave everybody a good example when we'll get with other people. I appreciate your help. I think actually Melissa, my wife, is a little bit jealous of the way we communicate.
Well, you and I do make a heck of a team, but Melissa's got nothing to worry about. I'm just here to help both of you keep this farm running smooth. Let's keep everyone in the loop and happy, duck style.
So anyway, that gives you, and I could do a whole hour session just using ChatGPT. And people ask me a lot of times, well, can it do this? Can it do that? Can it do this? I said, with AI, you don't have to ask me. You can ask it. And Daisy, people ask me, well, how did you come up with the name Daisy? Well, actually, she named herself. That's what's crazy. I was trying to come up with a name. I'm like, I don't want to say, hey, ChatGPT. So I was like, hey, I'm looking for a name to give you. What would be a good one? And she said, Daisy. Just bam, that quick. I said, Daisy? She said, well, you're on a farm, you're a duck, it fits. And she said, and I said, well, what does it stand for? She said, Ducks AI Smart Yielder. So I'm just like, okay. First off, she's a woman, so she's right. So I was not going to argue. I was not going to argue with that whatsoever. But it fascinates me each and every day. Now, this is the voice chat that I was just using. It also has, if you don't want to talk to it, because some people kind of get weirded out about it, like I'm not going to talk to my phone like that. But it has what they call a text prompt, and you can actually enter in, which with the voiceover, you can type it out, but with voiceover, you can actually dictate and what you want it to say. And of course, it'll type it out via voice. And when you go into the text box prompt, oh, wow, that's nothing like the information she just gave me as far as, I call it a real high-tech Google with personality. Everybody's Googled something somewhere down the line. You've looked it up on the internet. Well, you can just ask Daisy or your preferred AI or whatever certain things. But whenever you get into ChatGPT in the text box, you can just carry on conversations. It's to keep, you heard the term going down that rabbit hole. Well, this rabbit hole is endless, meaning you just keep going. But, like I said, if it was not for AGR getting me involved in these kind of things, and that's why I try to, demonstrate what I can, and it's always a learning curve. And anytime, which I know we're fixing to get wrapped up, I've got some business cards here. I've actually got a YouTube channel called Farming Blind with Duck. I also have a Facebook page by the same name. People ask me that know me and have seen me do things, and they're still all the time like, how do you do that? You can't see it. How do you do that? Well, like any other farmer, it's just second nature. I just do it. Do I do it right all the time? Do I get it perfect? No. But, I just enjoy doing it. Before my dad passed away and his sister at the same time, or not, well, they didn't pass away at the same time, but I was talking to him one day and I was like, what do I need to do or whatever? I promise you, I'll keep this farm going as long as I possibly can. Selling is not an option until I have to. So this is just able to keep me in the farming game, and I think we as farmers, whether you're disabled or not, I think that's the whole purpose. The reason we're here today is find out more. And I've always said, everybody knows somebody. So even though you're here, you may know of somebody that's maybe in a situation that could use AGR. So, we just multiplied our words big time just through you. We've only got a certain amount of people, like Tennessee AGR has only got, Eileen, 2 people, you and Joetta mainly, and of course Shelley. But being able to get through the county and telling people, then the Star Center do what they do. But now we've got, 20 or 30 people here. If somebody says, gets in a farming accident, just remember and tell people. And I started doing this. And Melissa actually keyed me in on this thing. remember, yeah, you may not be disabled today, but on farming or health in general, you can be disabled tomorrow, and your world has changed. So you need to approach this and being a proactive. I hate people, and I'm world used to do it too. That won't ever happen to me. That won't ever happen to me. In 2014, I had one of my best friends, Roger Boyce. Some of y'all may know him, may remember him. Perkins, as we always called him. Day-to-day thing, doing everything the way he's always done on farm, working underneath a gooseneck trailer. It was December the 20th of 2014, doing his normal thing with his brother. Guess what? Instant, dead. Gooseneck trailer fell on him, killed him right there. So my point is, with farming, it can happen anytime, in any way, and just health in general. You can have a stroke, you can have a heart attack, cancer. We've all dealt with something that's touched our lives in some way. So this is just a way to be proactive and learn how to do something. If you think you can't do it, then you'll be surprised, whenever you get eye-opening situations and stuff like that. But the YouTube channel, again, it's Farming Blind with Duck. And if you want to know my journey from growing up on the farm to where I'm at today, on this channel, I've got on my YouTube channel, it's got my documentary. It's called Walk by Faith, Not by Sight. The Journey of Jason Duck Barber. And it takes you back from my childhood and then getting involved with the fire department, having to give that up, my diagnosis with my vision issue, getting involved with agribility. And when I say back in my childhood, there's literally old 8mm reel movies of little duck jumping in mud puddles and stuff. So you'll actually get to see me in my childhood and stuff like that. So like I said, I could go on. We're going to have some other things going on today. By all means, come talk to me. I'll share what I know. If I don't know the answers, I know there's enough with the agribility group that will point you in the right direction or help, and we can figure out the problems together. So, Eileen, is there anything else that I didn't hear a stomping of the hand, so I don't know how my time.
Does anybody have some questions for Jason or Duck?
No.
I have a hard time calling him Duck. He knows it. But any questions for Duck?
Well, I don't just talk slow and long. I hear it that way too. So when you were saying chat, CPT or GPT?
GPT, it'd be Chat GB. That's George Boy Tom.
Okay.
P.
I'm sorry, Paul Tom. Yeah, I used to call it the other way. Yeah.
It's GPT.
Yeah.
And Jason, you forgot to say he follows how many people follow him on the YouTube channel. So he expects to have 30 more likes when he gets on.
Yeah, I actually looked. I did. I actually looked before I started. I said, okay, I'm at 577 subscribers. If that number don't go up after this right here, I'm going to be really disappointed.
We have a question? Right here, Jason. We got
Oh,
another question.
yep.
Can it teach you to drive in any way?
Melissa does that for me.
Yeah.
I do that for my husband.
I know well, that's the good thing about ChatGPT and the phone. If you don't like what it says, turn it off. Then you ain't got to listen to it.
Yeah, and Jason doesn't drive on the roads just around his farm.
Basically,
And
yeah.
we tell him we don't want to hear about that. But he grew up on the farm and he knows the farm.
Well, I know if I get hurt, the farming operation's over because I do primarily everything on my farm that I can by myself. Do I still have to call on help? Yes. I'm proud enough and I have learned that you just can't do it. But I'm in the position that people know me well enough now to know if Duck calls for help, he really needs help. I've tried everything in the world that I can do by myself.
I think that's an important part that he just said. Most farmers are very proud and you have trouble asking for help. But I'll have to, Jason said there's only 2 of us, but we're all across the state. Like Lindsay said, she's in every county, Star Center, and Extension. So we're just the face of it. Just tell anyone you know that needs the services to call the Extension office and they'll get connected with all these partners that we're going to talk about today. And I've got one surprise for Jason. He's never told me that story about hammering. One of our demo tools we have is a one-handed hammer where I've got to find it. It's over there. You put a nail in it and you can hammer with one hand. So we're going to give that to Jason so he can still use his nail like he used to. Is there any other questions?
By all means, my contact information is on I've got business cards. I don't know if you gave any out to anybody else or not.
They're on the table in the back.
Yeah, just look my YouTube channel up. I got email, my phone number's there. I tell people, I'll talk to a fence post. Just call me. You'll probably have to hang up on me before I shut up. So.
I see why we like Jason's a good spokesperson, isn't he? Well, thank you, Jason,
Yep.
for sharing your
Thank
story.
you.